This is what happens to your brain when you like speed listen a whole book in a couple of days. Spoilers all day, every day. Hey, I'm Mary, the writer.
Hi guys, I'm Sally, the artist.
We read books and yell about them together.
Today we're talking about The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. For the second time.
Yes, I may have deleted my recording by accident. I just got very overzealous with closing windows. What can you do?
We're new at this. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. That'll become obvious very quickly.
Probably already has. So The Girl on the Train is a 2015 novel by author Paula Hawkins that talks about three different women with their relationship troubles and the main character with her binge drinking. And it is categorized as a psychological thriller, but in my head the whole time I had been calling it a domestic thriller because it's about wives and relationships and stuff. So to me, a psychological thriller is more like you don't know what reality is, like if you're drugged or if the main character is hallucinating, they're not sure if they're dreaming or whatever. Yeah. So I've been calling this a domestic thriller. I don't know what the difference is.
So yeah, that's an interesting psychological thriller to me is like mind games. So
yeah,
you could easily say like, and she doesn't know what's real. So real quick, we're going to do a spoiler warning. There will be spoilers in all of our videos. I am sorry if you don't like those, but this is not the place for you. Please come back once you've read it. She doesn't know what's real and what's not. She doesn't trust her own experiences. And
so yeah.
It's also,
so psychological thriller makes sense.
Domestic thriller fits into that because it also the mind games and the situations are all in a domestic place, their home.
Right.
The plot points of the story. Basically, we find the main protagonist, or main protagonist. Suddenly, I'm uncertain how that works. She is in a very bad place in life. She's an alcoholic. She's unemployed, but lying to her roommate, saying that she's still employed at the job she was fired at, and she was fired for coming into work wasted. So
yeah, and her roommate is a saint.
Yes, her roommate is
dealing with her wasted.
A very nice person. It was interesting, like reading in the book, because we read it. I don't know if it was a year ago. It feels like a year ago. Probably just.
It was not a year ago.
Maybe like 4 months. Was it 4 months?
Yeah. So it's been a while because Mary was waiting for me. So it was probably 5 months for you because Mary had to wait at least a month and a half for me to finish it because there was a lot of things in it that were triggering for me and it was upsetting and it took a long time for me to finish it. Okay, so the protagonist's name, the main character is Rachel, and Rachel's roommate is Kathy. Rachel needed a place to stay, and Kathy was the person she called, and Kathy let her stay, and Rachel's wasted constantly, and is not a good roommate, but Kathy's so nice and never kicks her out.
So nice.
First thing I want to say about all of these characters, Kathy is the only nice one. Every character in this story is an asshole. Kathy's the only nice one. Even Kathy's boyfriend is a dick. Yeah. And you don't even see him. You just hear him talking behind a door.
Yeah. She's in dire straits. in her life. She's still obsessed with her ex-husband, who left her for another woman.
That he got pregnant.
Yes, he got her pregnant before he left her.
Yes.
They were having an affair. She found out the way that many people do, and it was like an accident. I don't remember. She was trying to do something for him.
Yeah, she was looking on his computer for his work calendar because she was planning a surprise vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and saw some emails between this other woman, and her husband.
Yeah. Because her roommate doesn't know she's unemployed, she takes the train to London and back.
That's why it's called The Girl on the Train.
Yep, it's true.
Took us a while to get there.
Yeah, we made it. So she also, she passes by Whitney, her old stop, and she likes to ogle out the window.
Ogle makes it sound so much worse. She's a creeper, and she likes to watch the people in their backyards and on the terrace, especially near where she used to live, because she used to live in one of the houses there. And there's a couple that she always sees on the terrace that she likes to watch because she's insane.
So dark.
Because it's the first person point of view.
Yeah.
So hearing her in her head watching these people is just creepy.
It's so creepy. She's named them. She's named them Jess and Jason.
Yeah. And she's come up with this idyllic life in her head of how they live.
Specifically, she does this and this. Maybe she's this. And then he's a doctor, and he goes to faraway places, kind of like Doctors Without Borders, but emergency style, because she's like, he gets called away. Like, I don't think
he gets called away all the time. And that's her idea. That's what she's made up, not what he actually does. But
no, in real life, he is a tech guy. On one of these fake work days, she sees Jess, who is actually named Megan, and she sees her with a man who is not the idealized Jason, whose real name is Scott. It's some other dude, and she sees Jess kiss him.
And she
pretty
gets
intimate.
pissed.
There's hands around waists. Oh yeah, it's personal.
It is personal for Rachel. Rachel is pissed.
Yeah, starts raging in her head.
She talks about like going there and smacking Jess or something, I think.
Yeah, that's something crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything she does is pretty crazy. Oh, if I saw Jess, I would spit in her face. I would scratch her eyes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it. It's really crazy.
I have notes. The main character is very unlikable.
I mean, they're all liars.
Yeah, they're all unlikable, but usually in a story, eventually the main character redeems themselves so that you, the reader, will like them. And I never like Rachel.
Oh really? I have my moments with her.
I feel sorry for her.
Sounds like we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have sympathy for her, but I don't like her as a person.
I like her sober. Like her sober before she lets her thoughts go crazy and go into fantasy land or whatever.
So the 10 minutes after she wakes up?
She has some, no, that's not true.
Yeah, she gets really pissed because it makes her think about how her marriage ended, which was with her ex-husband Tom having an affair with a girl named Anna, getting Anna pregnant before Rachel knew about the affair, and then leaving her, and then moving Anna and the new baby into their old house, kicking Rachel out, and moving Anna and the baby in.
2 days.
2 days. He kicked her out, and then 2 days later, Anna moved in, which is crazy. We do get the point of view of Rachel and Megan and Anna. You think that it's Rachel and Megan the entire time, and then eventually I think it's sudden it's Anna in chapter 10.
Yeah, it takes a while. And then we get less of Megan's chapters as we go.
Yeah.
Those become little.
Less of Megan, more of Anna. And then the next day, she doesn't have anything to do because it's Saturday, so she doesn't have to go into work. She doesn't have a fake work day, but she doesn't know what to do with her day. So she takes the train. She's gonna go see Scott or Jason. His name is Scott.
Yeah.
And tell him what she saw. And then she gets drunk on the way there, and as she's getting off the train, she blacks out. So she's on her way to see Scott, and then she doesn't get to remember what happened after she was on her way to see Scott. One of the reasons this book was so hard for me to read was because I related a lot to the blackout scenes. Like, I know that feeling of waking up and feeling terrible but not knowing why. And not physically, like emotionally. Like, something happened, I did something, I said something, and
I have also had those moments and far too many, unfortunately.
I think
waking up and being like,
somehow she got home and she's in bed. So good. You weren't outside on the porch, you weren't on the stairs. Great. But
so far.
She pissed her pants and vomited all over the floor.
Her head is bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
She has like a big gash on her head.
And
she's got,
everywhere.
I think, and of course, she has no idea what the fuck happened.
Right. And Tom, she has a voicemail from Tom after she charges her phone, yelling at her, like, what the hell is wrong with you? And stuff like that. And she doesn't know what she did because she was going to go see Scott. And Tom and Anna live a couple of houses down from Scott. So what did she do? She goes into London the day after she blacks out on Tom and Anna's and Scott's street. And she gets distracted by a news headline saying that someone from Ashbury is missing. And it's Megan's picture. Jess. Megan.
Yeah.
And she gets distracted seeing that and gets hit by a taxi. And then decides to get involved.
Well, she can't help herself. Because she realizes they don't have like any suspects or anything.
And she feels
she gets it in her head
sorry for Scott. Or she feels sorry for Jason. Or Scott. Whoever she's calling him at this time. And because she's like, they're gonna think it's him, and he can't do that because he's not like that. So, she doesn't know him. So she goes to the police.
I know him.
Oh my god. So she goes to the police to tell them about this guy that she saw Megan with the day before she went missing, who turns out to be Megan's therapist, Kamal. Rachel has herself involved now. She has found out that Jess and Jason's names are Megan and Scott, and now Megan is missing the day after she had been kissing another dude in her backyard. So that's where everything kind of starts.
That's the inciting incident.
Yeah.
And things kind of explode from there. She is a very good protagonist in the fact that she makes everything happen.
Yes. This is how everything started, and this is how Rachel got involved and why she's here. And then what happens is that throughout the whole thing, we find out Megan is having an affair with someone. He's unnamed for most of the book. And we find out that she's depressed because her brother died. After her brother died, she ran away. She met this guy. They did a lot of drugs. Moved in together. He was quite a bit older than her. She was, 19 at the time?
It's much worse than that. She was 15 when they met.
15.
And he you wouldn't sleep with her until the night of her 16th birthday. What a gentleman!
Oh, right.
That's it, just like he's a shitty person.
He's a very shitty person. He knocked up a 16-year-old girl, and then they never went to the doctor. They never got her help.
Any care.
No care at all.
He would leave her for like days at a time, and he did that. A few months after their baby, whose name is Libby, was born, he ditched her for a while, and it was cold. The roof was leaking. It was wet, so she had a fire, but it kept going out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing any good. So she got into a hot bath with her baby and fell asleep.
Yeah.
And so she, it's so, like, I just listened to it in her voice, not that long ago, and it's like...
She fell asleep. So she gets in this bath, and she falls asleep, and when she wakes up, Mac's still gone. The baby, Libby, her head is under the water, and she's not breathing, obviously. So... Yeah. So that just adds on top of all these other things that are in her life that are happening, and he's pissed. He leaves her. Before he leaves, they bury the baby on the property without telling authorities.
So after the baby died, like, she had gone, I don't know, dated a bunch of people, whatever, and she met Scott, and then they got married.
Yeah,
and he is also not a good guy. I mean, he's not a killer, so I guess he's got that going for him.
Well,
but he's an emotional abuser.
Yeah.
And so he wants her to go to therapy because he noticed that she was sad and there was nothing he could do to help her.
He knows about her brother.
So in that way, yeah, but he doesn't know about Libby, right?
No. He kind of knows about Mac as an ex. He doesn't really know what happened, as far as I know, because she looked up Mac once. She was thinking about him and looked him up and forgot to clear the history. And Scott is the type of person that checks all of her stuff. So if she used the computer, he'll check her history. Yeah. He'll check her phone. He's very controlling.
She describes like how she has to like specifically go through and delete things.
Yeah.
And she's like, he knows how to pull stuff from the hard drive even after he deleted it, but you know, unless he has a specific reason to suspect, like, he won't usually go that far. Yeah. But she didn't delete her history that time.
Right. Yeah, in one of her sessions, she says something about that to Kamal, and Kamal's like, saying that's abuse. And she's like, it's not abuse if you don't mind. Ugh.
Yeah. And he's like, don't you think you should?
Yeah, well, you should.
And she's so detached. Like, when her brother died, she detached from relationships and basically is, like, seeking control and power.
Yeah.
And in my mind, because she had, in her formative years, like, such a intense trauma, she didn't get help.
Yeah.
You know, the person she ran away, and I'm pretty sure, she got arrested for theft and solicitation, so I'm pretty sure she, like a lot of runaways, ended up, you know, selling her body so she could eat. And then she found Mac, so she thinks of Mac throughout the book. Anytime she talks about him, he was her savior. He took care of her. I was like,
when
you were a teenager, like a parent should be taking care of you.
None of it's good. None of these relationships in this book are good.
No. You want to say something for the microphone? No.
As you can see, we're in different clothes because it's the next day because we had more problems. And I'm over this episode already. When we left off, we were talking about finding out about Megan's baby, Libby, that passed away in the bathtub, and Mac. And then just to go on and get the whole story out so we don't keep going around in circles like our conversations usually go.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
All
point.
right. Megan is depressed because of her baby that she accidentally killed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would be called negligence. It would be called child negligence, not really murder, because she didn't do it on purpose. Whatever. She was having issues. Okay. That's where we left off in our conversation. Rachel goes over to Scott's house again. That was after Megan's body was found. She thought Scott needed some moral support, so she went over to his house and they ended up having grief sex.
And like blackout grief sex. So she woke up the next day like that.
Scott later finds out that Rachel is an alcoholic who lied about knowing Megan. So he freaks out. Scott attacks Rachel.
Oh,
and Scott attacks Rachel. He does physical harm to her. This is happening. Rachel remembers Tom hitting her in the underpass and all those other times that she had gotten blackout drunk, and Tom said, "There's a hole in the wall because you tried to attack me," was actually him attacking her because he's a dick.
Yeah. That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, well, he uses her blackouts to gaslight her into thinking that she's a terrible person.
Yeah.
And that he's not. That he's wonderful.
Yes, he's an angel
Whatever.
for putting up with her.
Rachel remembers a woman getting into Tom's car after he hit her while she's sitting in the underpass.
Mm-hmm.
Anna finds a phone in Tom's gym bag. The phone turns out to be Megan's phone.
Yep.
Rachel remembers that the woman that got into Tom's car is Megan, so she thinks that Tom has something to do with everything. She starts realizing that Tom lied to her about a lot of things. She starts trusting her own memories again. After she realizes there must be a connection, she goes to Anna's house. Luckily, Tom's not there. She tries to get Anna to leave Tom because for some unknown reason, I think it's the baby.
It's the baby.
I think it's because
well, you know what though? I think Rachel is a good person. So she's also there for Anna. She's worried about both of them. Whereas Anna,
she's worried
in that situation, probably would not have gone over there at all.
Oh no. Yeah, so while she's trying to convince Anna that Tom's involved, he's a murderer, Tom,
he comes home.
Coming home while they're talking, catches them, holds Rachel and Anna hostage by holding the baby. Anna acts really weird and detached from everything, and then Tom tries to kill Rachel because Rachel wants to confront the police and tell them and get Tom
arrested,
put away for all of this. And then Rachel runs outside. Tom chases her. Tom attacks her. Rachel has a corkscrew, puts it in his neck. It doesn't kill him.
She came up. I wrote it down because I was like, this is some psycho shit. Like, she came over.
Yeah, but I was all for it. I was with her on that.
I was with her in the way that this is a bad dude and, kick him to the corporeal curd. But she's like scary. Like she was like so calm apparently. Like in the book they talk about she kept twisting it and twisting it. And she's kneeling next to him, calm and whispering in his ears the whole time. But like before that, she went upstairs while he like started beating on Rachel, and her train of thought basically was, isn't this, what I've always wanted, and da da da. But then she's like, no, Evie would never be safe because I would never be safe because I know this happened. And that was the only reason she decided to get involved in any way to save Rachel's life. I was like, that is some cold shit. And then she goes down there, gives him a beer, and drinks a little bit of her beer, and then gets up and goes over to the phone and waits for the right moment to call the police.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. I was like, what's the right moment? Like, is it when Rachel, he's mostly killed Rachel and...
Yeah, mostly killed. That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, so the whole time she was so calm about everything, I thought it was because she was, was going to be an accomplice, was just going to let Rachel die.
Yeah.
And then, so if she waits long enough to call 999, this is British.
Yeah.
If she waits long enough, Rachel might be dead. So then she gets rid of both problems,
Yeah. Yep. Very, very economical.
and then the police come and they have like a moment of bonding because, well, Anna and Rachel are talking to the police. They kind of like make eye contact and say this was all in self-defense.
Yeah. Like, and that it was Rachel that did it, and Anna.
Yeah, because Rachel has all the physical evidence of bruises and shit.
Yeah.
So.
And then
they go their separate ways.
Yeah, but she, on the way out, Anna puts her hand on Rachel's arm, and it's not, maybe from the outside it might look like it's like, there, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, it was a warning. Like, this is a lie that we told together,
Yeah.
And don't stray from the path.
So, we have to go back. Why did Tom kill Megan? Tom was the person Megan was having an affair with. Megan found out she was pregnant, went to Tom and tried to tell him, and then Tom tried to get her to have an abortion, and she didn't like that, started yelling, and then...
This is like the fast, like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Just trying to get it out there, because otherwise we're going to end up having another 3-hour video.
Yeah.
Because the first time we recorded this, the one that we had to redo, it was like 2.5 hours of us just rambling on and trying to figure out how to put a coherent sentence and get to the end. So...
I really liked the way that she split up in some books, when there's like multiple first person chapters or whatever, but different people, it's like perfunctory, like it just keeps happening. Whereas with this book, it felt like everything was very, like, it was intentional.
Yes.
And there wasn't really any overkill or anything where it's like, oh, we've already gone over this. Like,
no, it didn't have a lot of filler. Like,
no, yeah.
The thing I keep thinking of when I say filler is Dragon Ball Z. Like, all those fucking filler episodes. All the filler episodes. There was none of that. So, what she does is, like, each section, so each chapter is a person's perspective, and then that chapter has sections of the date and time. It gives you a timestamp, and then it says what happens in the morning, and then what happens in the evening, as long as it's relevant to what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in there to make you bored. There's nothing that's not necessary. like that's why it was so hard telling this, because there's so much that happened in this book and it's all relevant.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't. Yeah. I like how she told the story,
Yeah.
and
too.
I really liked how it was broken up like that, especially for a kind of mystery. If it was more about just her getting better in her alcoholism and getting out of a relationship and everything, then I don't think I would have liked those timestamps. But since it was a mystery and you're trying to piece together something that happened, it was really nice.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And Rachel, at the end of the book, she does stop drinking, and she is traveling on a train. She's traveling on a train to visit Megan's grave, which is, they buried her next to Libby, next to the baby.
Yeah.
So, I know. I feel bad for her.
I know. Oh, and oh god, the murder scene.
I know.
And she recites that poem, and it's like, and she gets stuck on 3 for a girl.
Right.
3 for a girl.
Eh!
Like, I can't get past it. I'm like, oh.
Because it's first
Oh, it's
person
so hard to read.
perspective. So you're in her head while she's being murdered.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. I'm fine with gore and everything, but it's always so
emotionally
detached in other books. Like, this one was very...
Yeah. It was so personal. I mean,
Yes.
you couldn't help but be in the situation to some degree with them.
Right.
I want to kind of rewind a little. Talk about like Megan and Scott and like that last interaction that they had, where because she had been going to therapy, Kamal, who is a very good therapist, even though there were like a couple of lines that were like just gently crossed, and he was able to like, get control of the situation, but he clearly had difficulty.
Except when he did kiss her back in the backyard.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
was the only part, but it was kind of like a goodbye kiss.
Yeah.
Like,
that's how
this is over now. I can't be your therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he helped her sort of get used to the concept of being independent and, doing things on her own and trying to find her own happiness, like make it herself and not, rely on a man, basically.
Right.
Because that's obviously not been going well for her. So her first thought was that she was going to tell Scott everything and then, probably stay with him, which I thought
hopefully
was crazy. Yeah, depending on his reaction, which was not good. She didn't even get to the pregnancy part. She wanted it to be like, start with the bad and end with the good. She never got to the good.
Right.
Because he like immediately tensed up when she said something, when she was like, wait, I need to tell you something, and some of it's bad and some of it's good, and it's like he tuned out that there's anything good and really focused, and so she tells him that she's been having an affair, and his reaction is so scary. Like, it is. Took her to the ground, pinned her against the wall with his forearm.
By her neck.
Yeah, his forearm pressing against her neck, like choking her, and his eyes were closed so he wouldn't have to watch him choke her, like watch himself choke her.
Yeah.
And then he finally like let her go, and she ran up the stairs and locked the door and started packing her things and whatever. And, he was all contrition, which is, a lot of like domestic abuse situations will go like that, where there's the, well, you said this, and that's why I hit you, and I'm so, so sorry, it's never going to happen again. But of
Yeah.
course, he's a piece of shit. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
want, I don't want to be totally dismissive of him as a person. He's not like Tom. He's just like a couple steps back. Like he could get there pretty easily.
Yeah, like both of these men and all three of these different types of relationships are abusive in some way.
Yeah.
Tom does it deliberately. He knows what he's doing, he plans what he's doing, he manipulates people, he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
Scott's the type that it's unintentional, that's just his personality, that's how he deals with stuff. And I don't think it's intentional, it just happens. And that doesn't take the blame off of him, it just kind of, there's potential for change
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. Whereas there's no hope. I mean, even if he survived the book, there was never going to be any hope for Tom.
Oh no,
No
because
way.
at the end, it's not just that he was manipulating these women and having affairs and stuff. He was also lying about his entire history. He was never in the army. His parents are alive when he told someone they were dead, and he told someone else that he told Rachel they were dead. He told Anna that she never saw them because they were mad at him for leaving Rachel.
Yeah.
So
did you?
And none of that's true.
Right. The true story there is that he lost his parents' savings, and then they forgave him and were like, you know, we love you, you're a son. But he cut ties with them when they refused to remortgage their home to give him another loan. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
like he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Scott just needs therapy. But everyone is still an asshole.
Scott needed a personality intervention a while ago, I think.
Yeah. Megan was so delusional about her relationship with Scott, thinking that she could tell him this and that it would be okay and they could move on from it, because the way Scott acted with controlling her and making her feel like she couldn't do anything on her own and checking her history, it was all signs that this would just end terribly.
Yeah. In the book, she was like, I don't know why I thought. Like, I don't know why either. I'm glad we're on the same page. But, I don't think it's that easy when you're in the midst of that situation. You're like, well,
it's not.
This person really loves me. Like, they've shown that they really love me. And, like, that's why they're so intense. And,
like I said earlier, which was yesterday, whatever, I had a hard time reading this book. And part of it was because of the drinking and the blacking out and stuff, but also part of it was my personal, how do I want to say this? My personal experiences that are very similar to Megan's in that relationship. Like, it was odd. It brought back a lot of different things for me, and it was just really hard. I had to put it down a couple times just because I knew that if I got too far into that storyline at the time and that way of thinking, that it would affect the way that I talk to my husband that I have now. And it's like a little bit of kind of like a flashback. Yeah, it's kind of, I wouldn't say flashback as in memory flashback, but it's like an emotional flashback. The way you talk and act and the way you think. Like, he slammed the door a little too hard. He must be pissed at me because I did something wrong, Yeah. So that was another of several reasons why the book was difficult and I had to take so long to read it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to talk about something specific.
Yes. Gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of it in this book. And also in general in life, it happens a lot. So just in case, you don't know what gaslighting is, I am going to just real quick read the definition. And it is intentionally making someone think they're wrong even when they're right. Behavior can include questioning your logical thoughts, making you doubt your perceptions, or outright denying the reality you experience. It's a form of emotional abuse that it happens frequently, especially in romantic relationships. But it can
doesn't
happen
have to be
family and friends.
Yeah.
So it's sneaky because like people like Tom, for example, and I feel funny saying that because I have a brother named Tom.
I know.
Like I'm not talking about you. Talking about this guy. It's absolutely nothing like him. But someone like Tom in the book is like a pro at figuring out. I mean, not only does he know how to like gaslight, but he knows how to read a person's like insecurities and use that and their doubts and use that against them. And that's, there's definitely people out there like that, but there's also someone can be gaslighting you and it not be on purpose.
Right. Like they might do it unintentionally because it was done to them and that's all they know.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's always, don't do what they're doing, which is like always making an excuse for the other person, but not ever having a confrontation. And when I say confrontation, I mean like if it's like a healthy, conversation, basically about it.
A discussion, not like a fight. Don't go into it being aggressive.
No, that's not gonna help.
This was a very heavy book to start with. And when we first read this, we weren't planning on doing this with it, really.
Yeah.
So there wasn't as many notes taken while I was reading. There wasn't as much planning. And yeah, like I said, it was very emotional because personally relating to the alcohol, the relationship issues. That makes it sound so small. The problems with the relationships and the infertility issues. I relate personally to all three of those things. And so it's a very heavy book to start out with, but we didn't want to skip one that we already read for this reason. So and it's our first review video, so I guess this was a good one to figure out how much planning we need to do. So
it's like
we
forgot about that.
We made this thing that I'm calling it bingo because I don't know what the fuck else to call it, but it's not like a game. It's not nobody wins or anything. We're just trying to have a fun way of keeping track of what we're reading. Like
it's
themes
kind of challenging
and genres
too.
and stuff. Yeah, we're challenging ourselves on reading things that we don't normally read. More variety, more voices, more perspectives. So, I made this thing and I'm calling it the Reading and Review Challenge. That's the title on it. I don't remember why, but because there's nothing challenging in here about a review. Anyway, so we have book stats, which is a list that we can keep track of how many books we read that were classics, comedies, stuff like that. So after every review we do, we're going to list off, we're gonna tally off which ones the book falls under for the book stats, and then trope bingo apparently is what I titled this one. I don't remember why. Whatever. We're going to pick one box that is the most obvious from each book, like the most prominent theme or noticeable thing, and
The most fitting.
the most fitting. Yeah. And we did say when I first made this that we were going to pick one and then we'll be able to change it later on. So if we have a book later on that fits one better, we can switch it up. But Mary wanted to make us suffer with our decisions.
Yes,
So,
we have to
all right.
make
So,
the hard choices.
make the hard choices. And once we do our picks for each review for each book, these will be up on our story highlights on our Instagram, so you can go check it out and see what we've checked off and stuff like that.
So there's a lot it could be.
There's a lot of them.
Was looking.
I just kept adding shit. So there's a lot.
It could
Okay.
be amnesia, because there's some amnesia.
It's not amnesia though. Amnesia to me is like
it's
like okay, one of the romance tropes is the amnesia. Like, we're in a relationship. I got in a car accident and hit my head and I don't remember you anymore.
Oh yeah.
Like Two Princes.
Yeah.
Like the second season of Two Princes. Which I have not finished yet. And I really need to because it's adorable.
Well, what about bad behavior past due to tragic past?
But I don't. No one really had like the tragic past excuse though. Like my parents abused me, so it's okay if I act like a dick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just a manipulative piece of shit. He didn't have a reason why.
I was thinking more
Of Megan.
Yeah. Megan.
But that was coping skills, really, not like I'm
Yeah.
acting like this because I can get away with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Unreliable
Yep.
narrator. I think that's the most prominent thing of this book.
What about the overcoming, like, I'm kind of confused on how it's worded, but it says overcoming or healthy coping of mental illness.
That would be like, where is it? So I have these two books that I got when I was in high school. So this is about a girl with an eating disorder. This is about a girl who cuts. They both start going to therapy, and throughout the whole book, like the girl that cuts, she ends up getting into like a hospital, like an inpatient program. Okay. She goes to like a group therapy meeting every week. And the whole book is about them learning how to healthily cope and overcome their issues.
Okay.
Like, that's the main theme. Like, the whole thing is about them learning how to deal with their issues. So my pick is going to be unreliable narrator. Because we can both pick different things.
Yeah. What did you think about romantically desperate female character?
I think we could find one that's worse. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I think unreliable narrator.
I'm picking unreliable narrator. That's my pick because that's every perspective in here is coming from their own personal point of views, what's going on in their life at that time and their pasts and stuff, and they're all unreliable.
They're unreliable narrators because they've been gaslit or gaslighted so hard.
You're right. Yeah, I'm picking unreliable narrator. Are you picking?
Yes.
Okay. And then I figured we can both discuss what we're going to rate it on Goodreads and why.
Yeah. I am going to give it a 5 out of 5. Those 5 stars. Because I watched the movie, I read the book, and I read the book again, and it was still intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't lose anything. You know, reading it through, I just noticed more as opposed to, you know, sometimes you read a book again, you're like, oh my god, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
But
the way I rate things on Goodreads is really weird because most people rate it on if it's like well written and stuff like that. Mine is purely based on how I feel at the moment. So the other day I rated something really well because like it was a very cliche story. It was very short, it was very cliche. I knew what was happening, but at that time that's what I needed to read.
oh
like
yeah.
I was upset about something, so I read something that I knew how it was going to end, and it was very cute and everything. So it was a 5 stars for me. Okay. This I'm going to rate a 5 stars because of legit reasons. Because it was very emotional. It was very exciting. I did not know who did it until close to the end, until they figured it out. Which I always get disappointed if I can figure it out beforehand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am also rating it 5 stars.
Woo-hoo.
Since this book was heavy and we talked about a lot of things like alcoholism and relationship abuse, stuff like that, which for a first review, that's a lot. But
yeah,
since we talked about a lot of that stuff, there's going to be links below for support groups or for help for that, and those will be in the description. We are going to be posting a video. We're going to be trying to post a video every Sunday. And we're going to be doing book reviews. The next book we're doing is Black Leopard, Red Wolf. And we're doing, yay, it's a good book so far. The book is broken up into 6 sections. So we're going to be doing a video on each section just to make it a little easier to follow along with and understand, because it's a big book.
yeah.
So the next video out will be our review on the first section of Black Leopard, Red Wolf. That's hard to say. By Marlon
It's a bit
James.
of a tongue twister.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes, Marlon James. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will be posting every Sunday, and you can find us. Our social links. Well, the only social that we usually the only social we use is Instagram. I don't like Twitter. Mary doesn't like Twitter. Facebook is awful. So that link will be down below. It's the writer and the artist with an underscore under each word or between each word. The link will be down below.
Let us know what you thought of this.
Yes.
Of us, as well as the book, if you read it, or the movie.
Let us know what we can do better.
Yeah.
What we can change. Any advice.
Yeah. And if you like anything, I would love to hear it.
Right, because that would be great.
Please. give me a little boost in my day.
Right. That's all we have for outro at this point in time. So,
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
I feel like I'm giving a school presentation.